Ross Shemeliak, Amsterdam Blockchain Week 2025, RWA and Tokenization.
What is the future of this space like? What does that look like to you, and what inspired you to come in and start working here? Because obviously this is a pretty new development. What is it about this space that got you in, and what does the future of tokenization kind of look like to you in your experience?
In general, I started this business 7 years ago, and we spent 2 years, zero revenue, zero clients in 2018, just to educate businessmen what tokenization is. So it is a very long journey, very tough journey. And why I created this business with my partners? Because we want to bring the tokenization on the streets. Currently, we see the adoption, but let's be frank, when HBC tokenizing 10 billions of their bond, who cares about it? How it's influence on your general life? That's why our main idea is to be able to tokenize the restaurant on your street. So what product and what services we need to provide technical wise, legal wise, operational wise, pricing wise, to be able for the manager of the restaurant to tokenize themselves. And it is our main mission and why I'm wake up every day. And in respect of the future of the real world assets, look, it is very interesting question, because I think that the future is of the data rich approach. This term describes when you put in the security token smart contract the Web2 data. Because look, if I created a meme coin and treated that it is RWA, or when I created a real RWA and tied to the real estate, how from the smart contract perspective I can differentiate these two assets? That's why data rich approach, it is when you put, for example, who own the asset, who sell the assets, who is buying the assets on chain from Web2. So when I'm investing in these assets and opening the smart contract, I will see all of these data inputs, and I will don't have these questions anymore because it will be on chain. It is, for example, what my company does with Chainlink to put this information from the registries from the Web2 to the Web3. It is point number one. The second point, I think it is I'm 10 years ahead the industry, but it will be the tokenization of time, tokenization of your personal securities. Imagine if you, the VC fund, why you would invest in Stobox if you can invest in Ross that will create a several Stobox or get benefit from all of my activities, social media, trading, I don't know, any earning that I will have, and you will have a stake lifetime. And it is a huge social impact that we can anticipate. But as I mentioned, we are 10 years ahead this.
Yeah. What regulation helps obviously give credibility to these, assets, that this new asset class that exists, but it's really going to be helpful and harmful to the builders. What is the regulation hurdles that you guys are facing as you're building this tokenized industry?
I will start from the misconceptions in regulations, because I think it is extremely important point. Look, by talking to the Web3 builders, Web3 enthusiasts, and their entrepreneurs, the first misconception it is that US does not work for their tokenization because of the SEC. But the reality that US, it is one of the best frameworks in the world where you can structure your tokenized assets because of very enhanced and developed legislation, corporate legislation. That's why if you dealing with the securities in tokenized form and you treat it as a securities from day one, why would you have a problems? If you have your utility tokens that can be treated as a security, then SEC and all of their hard regulation come in place. So it is the first misconception. The second, it is in Europe. We see a lot of talk around MiCA. But reality is that MiCA do not regulate through RWAs. MiCA regulate crypto assets and stable coins, but the tokenized assets of the private markets regulated through the MiFID regulation in Europe and through the director's perspective and private exemptions. It is the regulation how you structure it here. And I think it is one of the biggest misconceptions in the industry. And also I have seen many times that general crypto exchanges sometimes trade tokenized assets. And whoa, it is one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen, because you cannot trade RWAs as a crypto. Each exchange need have as a relevant license, security exchange license, to conduct these operations. And in respect of the regulation and the hardness, I think that top one questions from our clients when they knock in our door, it is what jurisdiction to choose, because it's the market is fragment, because to target their general audience, to have their investors access around the world, it means that investors located in different jurisdictions. Different jurisdictions have different legislation, different regulation, different exemptions. That's why clients usually starting from lawyers, but they spending a lot of money, and you will have 10 lawyers and 10 opinions. That's why it is one of their problems that we solve in Stobox, that we help to digest and to choose right jurisdiction and right regulation. Because in US it is Reg A, Reg A+, Reg D, Reg S. In Europe it is MiFID, and you have exception that if you're raising up to 8 million of euro, you can do it without the registration of prospectus. So you can target public investors, accredited investors, without hard, heavy regulation, without any approvals from the regulator. You just report. You have in Asia mass regulation in Singapore. So I see that the most popular jurisdictions for the tokenized assets, it is US, Liechtenstein, Switzerland, sometimes BVI for small cases, and Singapore.
Yeah, because of the regulation. Yeah, it's
Because of the regulation and because of their entrance, reduced entrance threshold for the companies.
Yeah. What industries do you think stand to benefit the most from RWAs as we go forward? Because obviously there's tons of things. You could tokenize anything. That's kind of been the point of this. So what industries do you see just going full steam ahead and exploding in this space?
I will start. I think it is real estate as for now. Why? Because remember that tokenization and securities in a tokenized form, it's just the method. It's just the method. You previously had the phone with buttons, and now you have the iPhone with touch screen. It's still the phone, it's still the securities, but in different way. And why real estate is booming in respect of tokenization? Because tokenization is not a new bicycle, it is a complementary to your financial skills of investment. Because remember, in what asset are you investing? It needs to be stable, it needs to be regulated, it needs to be clear. For real estate, you don't need to explain why you need to invest in real estate. That's why tokenization acts just as a method, and that's why we see a big adoption on it. But what I believe, it is in general in private markets. Remember, we have public companies like Apple, Microsoft that are traded on NASDAQ, and we have private companies. And 99.9% all of the companies around the world are private. What does it mean? That if they conduct the tokenization, they can have one window through which they can fundraise globally, depends on the regulation. They can open the liquidity for their business, and it is a crucial part. It's not about listing you on NASDAQ. It is about NASDAQ bringing to you on your mobile phone with much more opportunities, with still being a private company. And liquidity is a key part. That's why I fully believe in private markets and the private companies. And look at from the investor's perspective. Now, through the tokenization, I can invest in companies that previously were closed because it's private business, right? And now I have online this opportunity to participate in general businesses. And it is also very important from the investor standpoint. And participate from $10. It means that if I would like to invest $1 million in real estate, I can invest in 1,000 different properties around the world and diversify my portfolio. Yeah. That's why I fully believe in private businesses, and I fully believe in community-driven businesses, where you plug in your tokenization to your social media activities. You have a TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. So it is ability for you to legally compliant fundraise and develop your business.
Yeah,